Hey, what is going on, everyone? This is Mohammed, your personal PMP coach from Certified with Ease, coming back to you guys with another brand new video. In this video, we are going to continue our quest in solving problems. We're going to try to get to 1,000 altogether in total, not in this video alone, but altogether. So let's continue on this journey. We are going to focus on one concept, though, in this video in particular, the most important step in solving a PMP problem. A lot of students, and we're very fortunate to have trained thousands of students so far and helped them on this path. And a lot of them get stuck on one step. A lot of them get stuck on this first step over here, which is framing the actual problem. So they're reading the question, they're reading it, and they're not able to understand it. So they have to go back and they have to keep reading it until they're able to understand. Or sometimes they even read it and they try to answer the questions, but they haven't really understood the problem statement. The issue with that is this. If you don't understand the problem, you cannot answer the questions. And if you keep going back and if you keep trying to read and understand the problem, you're wasting valuable time. So that's exactly what we're going to work on today when solving questions. Okay? So again, guys, we have this amazing course. We've helped so many people pass the exam. If you're someone who has failed the exam and you don't know what to do, you don't know what gaps to address, you don't want to restart from square one. If you're someone that needs to get certified ASAP, right? Book this call with Shubs, with that program advisor. The call is not to force you to commit. The call is simply to assess your situation, to see if this is for you, to give you a rundown, to understand your situation. And if it's not a good fit, we won't recommend it. But if it's a good fit, we will definitely recommend it. Okay? So let us start now. Enough talking. We stopped at 142. Okay, you know what? Let's just continue on because I want to work on the long questions. But let's get through 142 quickly. Okay? So remember, guys, read the question with the intent of understanding the problem. A software system is being built for a company. Not important. It can be a bridge for all I care. Once the system is in production, the team would like to collect usage data to evaluate the delivered value. Okay, we want to collect data. Which evaluation practice should the project lead use to obtain the usage data? Done. The problem statement is we want to collect usage data. We want to know the method to collect this data. That is a problem statement. The question now, this problem, I don't need to go back to it. And please don't go back to it after you've understood. Now we go back to the answers and we ask ourselves, which is the answer? So this is not your typical situation-based question. So don't worry too much about it if you don't know. It's still good to know. So we'll talk about it. Embed a feedback form to the system for users to respond. Build the functionality in the software to collect the operational usage data. Send out a questionnaire to all users regarding the most useful features. Interview a sampling of users to obtain the usage data. Okay, so the best solution here is going to be B. And the reason why it's B is because if we have this feature in our product or in the software, we're able to collect data for every single user, as opposed to every other option. A, it's contingent upon if they actually answer the form. C, again, contingent upon if they actually answer the questionnaire. D, a sampling is just a couple of people. So B is going to be the best. And remember, when it comes to collecting data, we want to select the option that gives us the most data possible. Okay, so that's that. Hopefully you understand. So anytime you need to collect data, select the option that collects the most data possible. All right, another small problem, but let's get through it. A software project using an agile approach is facing quality issues with every release, generating many production problems. That is our problem statement. We got production problems, guys. What should the PM do to fix the problems and improve quality? That's it. We got production problems. That's it. What should we do to fix this? Okay. Another important thing is that we're working with an agile approach. Just by default, guys, anytime they mention software, it's agile. Okay. Nothing else. Software is agile. Product is agile. These are all agile projects. Use the retrospective meeting to better understand the root cause of the problem and put together a plan of the team to address the problems. Ooh, I love this. Guys, this is 3 principles in one answer. Number 1, you have retrospective, which is after the sprint, which is great. That's what we want to do. We don't want to interfere during the sprint. Better understand principle number 1, right over here. Principle number 1. Okay. The root cause. Root cause was also mentioned in the answer. So root cause is one of the tools that the PMP loves to use a lot. And then you have your project team. Involve your team. So there's 3 principles in one. I'm just going to go with A. Let's see what the answer is. There we go. We got it. Right? So that's a clear giveaway. That's the answer. Okay, so I want to go to a question where we can use okay, so we can actually focus on the problem statement. And don't worry, I'm going to come back to the other problems in another video, but we want to really dial in on this concept, framing the problem. Okay, so let's start this right now. Remember, we want to understand it in one go. We don't want to reread. So a PM for a factory construction project in a small town is evaluating the necessary actions to engage stakeholders. Great. The local community is speculating the impact of the facility. None of that information is important. Let's move on. There are rumors of job opportunities and environmental impacts which are listed on the project risk matrix. There we go. What should the PM do with regard to the community engagement in this situation? So we got job opportunities. I don't know why that's a problem, but the environmental impact. So people are talking about, hey, this project is going to create a lot of problems for the environment. What are we going to do now? Right? The community might protest against us. What are we going to do? That's a problem statement, guys. Everything else not important. That is our problem statement. And notice this, and I want you to note this down in your notebooks or whatever you're using to write notes with. When it's a medium length or a large length question, like this one, it's a medium length question, the first sentence is not important. The first sentence simply sets up the situation for the most part. The important part comes after the first sentence. Okay, so build channels to extend communication efforts to the local community. Focus on the side word stakeholders only and let the organization manage the community. So again, we're not addressing the core problem. We are concerned about this community. We need to choose a solution that directly addresses the community. Use the city administration to address communication with the community. Include the local union representative in the high power impact stakeholder group. Okay. So I'm going to choose A and D. Actually, I'm going to eliminate B and C, and we're left with A and D. Which one makes more sense? So we got these environmental impacts, which are listed on the project risk matrix. What should the PM do with regard to community engagement in this situation? If we build channels to extend communication efforts to the local community, that could work. We're getting them involved in the project. Include the local union representative in the high power, high impact stakeholder group. The second part sounds a little bit strange. It sounds as though this local union representative is going to know every single bit about the project, which we don't want to involve them to that point. And we want to involve the entire community. I'm going to go with A, guys. A is a good answer. There we go. Okay. All right, awesome. Let's do 148. So a PM was replaced in the early phases of a new project. The new project manager discovers the business team is not supporting the project. After discussing these concerns with the team, it is determined that the project does not have full support of senior management. That is your problem statement. That is your problem statement. So again, the first part, not that important. It might seem like, okay, the PM is getting replaced. It might be important. It's leading up to the actual problem. What has this situation caused? It has caused the project to not have full support of senior management. What should we do about this problem? Okay, so problem statement is done. Step number 2, request the business team to clearly define their issues with the project completed to date. Send out a status report describing the situation to stakeholders and request general assistance. Study the stakeholder analysis to understand which stakeholders hold the most influence and seek their assistance. Ask senior management to be more involved in the project and provide their full support. Interesting. So we're concerned about this particular senior management team. If we request the business team to clearly define their issues with the project work completed to date, does that solve the concern? How does that involve the senior management team? If we send out a status report describing the situation to stakeholders and request general assistance, how does that help? If we study the stakeholder analysis to understand which stakeholder holds the most influence and seek their assistance, that might help. Because not everyone in the senior management team will be able to help us. This is principle number 1 in action as well. D is basically doing what is obvious. Obviously we need to ask senior management to be more involved, but I rather choose that person within senior management that has the most pull. So I'm going to go with C. There we go. Okay. All right, Josh, take a little break here. One second. All right. Three, two, one. All right, let's move on to question 149. Okay, so again, guys, medium size question. What is important? I'm assuming the first sentence is not going to be. You can read it, but lock in when it comes to the second part, the second sentence, and so forth. Okay, we're looking for the problem statement. Get that in your mind that we are reading this question with that specific purpose. Okay, so a company has rolled out the latest retail management system and the project has been handed over to operations. Not important. Okay. The operations team finds that many of the day-to-day requirements are not covered in the system and support for the project has limited hours. Okay, great. We're getting into the problem. The project team has dissolved and contract resources or has been dissolved and contract resources are no longer working on the project. As a result, the operations team has been facing numerous customer issues. What should the project lead have done to initially avoid the situation? Okay, so this is a different question. We're going back in the past now, and we're saying, what should the project lead have done? When you have a have done question, you simply want to choose the answer that would have avoided this problem altogether. Involved operations stakeholders during planning. Okay. Review the project management plan. Increase support hours for the hours of operation. Create a detailed operations manual. If we involve the operations stakeholders during planning, none of these problems would have probably occurred because we have the entire department involved in this planning phase. We would have mitigated everything. Reviewing the project management plan is not specific enough. It's not going to help. We need to involve this entire team. How is increasing hours going to help? I don't know. Create a detailed operations manual. Again, how is that going to help? Involve, right? We want to involve people. Project management is always about involving. It's always about bringing people together. Okay? Alrighty. Question 150. Same rule. We're looking for the problem. The project team is transitioning from predictive to an agile approach. Okay, so this is a good example where this piece of information is important. It's not setting up the situation. It's not saying that, oh, we're working in a hospital on a emergency project, or we're working in the we're working to release a new product in for our software company. This is relevant information. We're transitioning from predictive to agile. The PM is trying to minimize the support issues that the product has had in production. One particular pain point is the transition to operations. There we go. Execution, right? What should we do? Engage the operation teams in the retrospectives and demo sessions and incorporate their feedback on project activities. Retrospectives, a bit too late, right? That's at the end of the sprint. We want to kind of get them beforehand, or at least during the sprint. Increase the focus on backlog items that cover support requirements, as well as product manuals and operations guides. So again, this is not going to help us solve the core issues. And when it comes to agile, we're not really focused on product manuals and operation guides. We want lean. We want lean, meaning that we're not focused on these big textbook manual guides. Maybe the PMBOK should learn a little bit from that. But anyways, that's another story. C, foster stakeholder participation by engaging them early on the backlog of discussions. Okay, good. Ask the support operation team to participate in the daily stand-up meetings to contribute to the project's progress. Okay, now this is interesting. What's our concern here? Our concern here is that while we are transitioning, we know that there are problems that occur that usually arise. Would it make sense to have the operation, let's say the operation team, to be in communication with them during this or before this? During this transition or before this transition? During. And that is why we're going to involve them in the daily stand-up. Okay? So the answers say engage the operation team in the retrospect demo session and incorporate their feedback on project activities. I don't agree with this one. Okay? Again, guys, I'm answering these live, right? I'm not looking at the answers beforehand. But I don't agree with this one. I had a feeling that they were going to choose this, or the forum was going to choose this. But if it's at the retrospective, the problems have already occurred. And let's say, for example, they provide the feedback, and then in the next sprint, you have more problems occurring. Do you have to wait until the sprint is over? And I know the daily stand-up is not the place for other people except your immediate team. However, because issues arise during this transition, I would feel more comfortable in having them in the daily stand-up. That's my logic there. But you guys let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to stick to D. I'm going to say that's going to be the answer. All right. Awesome. Let's continue with more questions. All right, Josh, let's take a little break here. Let the screen load. Three, two, one. All right, 151. Let's end off with this one today. So after signing an agreement with a vendor, the project manager notices that the vendor is continuously asking for changes on the procurement statement of work. These changes would improve the project outcome. What should the project manager do next? Okay, so this is a pretty small, short question, and when that happens, usually everything in that question is important information. But this is pretty easy to understand. You have this vendor asking for changes, and there are benefits in the change. What should we do about them? Consult the list of selected vendors for the bid and evaluate a possible change of vendor. So no, we don't want to do that. This vendor is helping us asking for changes, but these changes are actually beneficial. Revise the procurement control process to avoid undesired changes that might affect the schedule. Assess the situation as an opportunity for improvement and perform a risk analysis. Conduct an audit on the procurement process and inform the vendor about the audit's observation. So I'm going to go with C. Assess the situation as an opportunity for improvement and perform a risk analysis. You could use a risk analysis. I don't think it's required though. If they simply said assess situation as an opportunity for improvement and look at the changes, I would choose that. Risk analysis is a little bit strange. You could still do it because it tells you, okay, is this actually worth it or not? What's the risk? So I guess it is. C is going to be the answer. There we go. Okay. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. And remember guys, we have an amazing course. This is for the people that want to get certified, that don't want to go through all of the theory, that need the fast track way of getting certified. I'm going to see you guys next video. Take care and have a fantastic rest of the day.